Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2025, and today I want to talk to you all about familial estrangement. I made a video like this a while back, and I decided to do a part two because I realized that a lot of families are breaking down right now. All throughout my social media, I see posts where children are talking about how their parents no longer respect them and they no longer feel loved by their parents. And I'm also seeing parents feeling as though their kids are their enemies. And there's a breakdown in the relationship. And I want to kind of explore that with you all because I've seen that happen within my own family. And I think, for one, it's Bible prophecy. It says in the scriptures that a man's enemies will be members of his household. You know, it mentions how the love of the greater number will cool off. This is in Matthew 24, verse 12. It mentions that 2 Timothy 3, verse 1 through 5, how there will be no natural affection. People will not be open to any agreement. And I've seen this happen even within my own family. And you would think that as people who have respect for God, we would somehow be shielded from this. But the reality is nobody is shielded from this. We are all right now going through a breakdown within our families. I realize that within my family of origin, it really boils down to three words: lack of respect. There is a lack of respect for who I am becoming. There is a gross lack of respect for my choices, my beliefs, my feelings. And I see this with other families too. There's a gross lack of respect for their beliefs, their religious beliefs. There's a gross lack of respect for their personal choices, what they choose to do, even a gross lack of respect for their partners. It's like if you decide to marry someone and your family doesn't agree with who you married, that can create a divide and a rift. And I see that happening all over the world. I think also when it comes to adult children and their parents, I think a lot of parents, they struggle with their children's independence. And on the surface, they say no, they want their child to be independent, they want their child to thrive. But a lot of times they rebuff any attempt their child makes at independence. There's almost this double bind communication where the parent says, yes, I want you to grow, but yet and still the parent wants the child to be underneath their thumb. They want to continue to control the child. And let's be honest, there's a lot of toxic parents who, and I would say narcissistic parents, who use their children as a counterfeit power source. They try to plug into their children whenever they're feeling disempowered by life, whenever they want to feel a sense of control, they try to plug into their children as that form of control and as that power source. But as their children get older, it doesn't have the same charge. Reason being is because a lot of these adult children are waking up. They're realizing that their parents are extremely manipulative, extremely abusive. Their parents are liars. Their parents have misled them in so many different ways. Their parent had used a series of control tactics, such as gaslighting, emotional blackmail, selective inattention. They have used what? Just deflection. Putting the child down, criticism. They've used all these tools, intimidation, manipulation. They've used all these tools to try to keep their child underneath their thumb. And their child is now, for one, developing the language and the knowledge to describe what's happening to them. A lot of the children are going into therapy and they now have the language to describe what was happening to them, why they continue to tolerate certain things within workspaces, within friendships, within romantic relationships. It all stems from their first relationships, which is their parents. And so in therapy, they process these things, and what they learn is that they were abused. They didn't know they were abused because they normalized it. You know, the thing about it is this: you can be in a really toxic, unhealthy environment and not even know it because you just normalize the dysfunction after a while. You feel as though that's what people do, that's what families do, that's how they show love. But when you sit across from a therapist and you really explore your childhood and you really explore certain messages that you received growing up, you start to realize that you indeed were abused. You were manipulated. You were gaslit. You were indoctrinated to believe that these things were love when it wasn't love. It was abuse. And the thing about it is this: when you take what you learn in therapy and you try to apply the skill set that you learn with your family, with their toxicity, with your toxic relatives, they will oftentimes resist and rebuff your efforts at healing. They will accuse you of being disloyal because you grew up with this misplaced sense of loyalty, thinking that it was loyal to continue to tolerate abuse. So oftentimes your relatives and your family will get angry and call you disloyal. They will call you everything but a child of God. They will call you everything but a child of God. They will criticize you. They will tell you to come up out of them books. You need to stop going to therapy. It's not working for you. It's convincing you that I'm the problem. They will always try to convince you that everything else is the problem except the dynamics within the family. There are a lot of unhealthy dynamics within a lot of families these days. And until they actually are willing to sit and unpack those dynamics and really, really work through those dynamics and try to find a solution and change those dynamics, nothing's going to happen except more disharmony, more of this, more conflict, more tension, you know? And a lot of family tangles are the result of, as I mentioned earlier, a lack of respect. Lack of respect. People think that they can talk to you any kind of way, and that's not acceptable. Additionally, a lot of what causes family rifts and family breakdowns are substance abuse. You know, you have one member who continues to cling to either drugs or alcohol, and it's really distorting their view of a lot of different things. You know, they don't think that they have a problem. They continue to deny, which is a hallmark of addiction, denial. You keep on trying to bust up their denial systems when really all you want to do is just lean into good energy. You know, as a counselor, I don't want to always be on. I work a job 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I want to come home on my weekends and I want to lean into the good energy of my family. But can't do that because I have to put on my counselor cap again and I have to basically just try to bust up denial systems. Not going to do that. Not going to do it. And that's what causes rifts. It's like these parents don't want to admit that they struggle with some really, really bad habits. They struggle with some really faulty thinking and cognitive distortions that interfere with their ability to logically reason and also accept constructive feedback. Instead, they want to see you as the enemy. They want to continue to persecute you and put you down and criticize you. And so you go no contact. Like me, I have elected to go no contact because I refuse to be disrespected, especially by people that claim to love me. Here's the truth. You could hand someone the blueprint on how to love you. You could say, this is how I need to be loved in this version of my life. In this season of my life, I need to be loved X, Y, Z. Here's the blueprint. Now, what they do, what toxic family does, is they say, yeah, I'm not going to be controlled. You're not going to tell me how to love you. I'm going to love you how I want to love you. And so they're going to tear up the blueprint that you give them. So, okay, you tore up the blueprint. So, in but so many words, you're telling me that you don't want to have a relationship with me. You don't want to follow the rules of engagement. You want to continue to show up in my life how you want to show up. And I say no to that. You will not show up in my life how you want to show up. You will show up how I need you to show up, or you won't show up at all. It's just that simple. If I'm giving you a blueprint on how to love me, You read the blueprint, you decide whether or not you want to participate. If you choose not to participate, I understand. But if you choose to participate, you're going to honor that consistently because I am going to hold you accountable. And that's the problem within most toxic families. They don't want to be held accountable. They want to continue to show up in your life however they want to show up. And whenever you hold them to a higher standard of care, when you say, I need you to care about me this way, you're practically begging them, which infuriates me. You're begging them and saying, please show up in my life this way. And they're saying, no, I'm not going to show up like this. You're going to deal with me how I come. And if you choose not to, well, then that's tough. You're going to take me as I am. And I'm saying, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. You will change or you will not. Or you will. Let me just rephrase that. You will change or you will be estranged, period. Because I'm not having it. In my adult life, I get to decide what I want to happen. And that's the beautiful thing about being an adult. No one tells you to go to bed early. No one tells you what you have to tolerate anymore. You're no longer at the mercy of your parents. You now can make conscious decisions on how you want to show up and how you expect other people to show up in your life. And what you start to realize is that when you set those healthy boundaries, right? When you set those beautiful boundaries, other relationships in your life begin to improve as well. They also begin to check out. You do a clearing. You do a shedding. Anybody and anyone that's not going to show up in your life the way you need them to show up has to go. You start to realize what is healthy behavior versus what is unhealthy behavior. And if they continue to practice unhealthy behavior, they got to go. They got to go. I have shed so many relationships both last year and this year to the point where my circle became a period. And I'm comfortable with that. Initially, there was a period of grief. There was a period of grief where I was just so sad because I had to let people go, people that were in my life for years. But then I realized that, you know something? That's actually a blessing. That's something that I prayed for. I prayed for one, clarity. I prayed for clarity, and I prayed what is called the dangerous prayer. And what is the dangerous prayer? This prayer is dangerous whenever you pray this prayer. I prayed for God to reveal, remove, and replace the people who were not right for me. I said first, please reveal and please remove anybody in my life who is not going to love me the way that I deserve to be loved. And when you pray this prayer, you will start to see friends and family members start to fall out of your life. And it hurts. It hurts. But it's revealing. It's revealing to you who is, for one, healthy enough to respect you and love you the way you need to be loved, and who is motivated to actually honor you. Who is motivated to actually honor the person that you are. A lot of people, they rock with you because of what you can do for them. They like the way you listen. They like the way you attend to them. They like the way you invest in them. But the moment that you take a step back and you say, no, I need you to do this for me, you start to realize just who is genuine and who genuinely loves you. You know, you start to realize a lot because a lot of people like the way you benefit them. But when it comes time to actually put in the work to show you that you're special to them, they got to go. They have to go. And that's okay. That's fine. If they got to go, they got to go. So give yourself time to grieve. Give yourself time to grieve, but also be grateful. You know? Grieve, but be grateful. Be grateful that you're finding out exactly who these people are. Be grateful that they're finally starting to reveal themselves, because we live in a time period. The beautiful thing about this is that all things will be revealed. This is the age of revelation. Everything is going to be revealed. This is the age of enlightenment. We are all waking up to certain truths about the world, and we're starting to see, even with our families, who got our back and who don't. And so we're waking up. And so that's what's happening with a lot of families nowadays. They're breaking down. They're breaking down, but that breakdown is going to lead to a breakthrough. You're going to see a lot of truths coming out, you know? Families right now, they're just at each other's throats. And to me, it's very simple. Just find out how someone wants to be loved and love them. Respect your loved ones. Honor them. Listen to them. But once again, the trust system is broken. And that's because of numerous violations that have not been addressed. A lot of families don't talk. They really don't want to have the conversation. They don't want to take accountability. They don't want to acknowledge another person's feelings. Okay, these are all things that need to happen for healing to begin. You need to acknowledge. You cannot fix what doesn't exist. You cannot fix what you don't bring to light. You know? You cannot fix what you don't admit exists. You have to admit that it exists, that there's a toxic component and a dynamic here that's causing a rift. You have to admit that. A lot of people live in denial. Their denial systems are so strong because they suffer from meager egos. Low ego strength. What exactly do I mean when I say meager egos and low ego strength? The ego, you know, it's a place in the mind where you feel good about yourself. It protects you, you know? And when a person has low ego strength, they cannot handle constructive feedback. They see it as an affront to their ego. They see it as an attack to their ego. And in a way, for them to be able to receive the constructive feedback, they have to trust you. They have to also be willing to let their ego die in the service of a higher function, right? And the thing about it, when you have strong ego strength and when you have high ego strength, you're able to allow your ego to die for the sake of building something greater, for the sake of correction and being a better person. But those with low ego strength, they can't handle constructive feedback. They see it as criticism. They see it as you trying to beat up on them. They see it you trying to bully them. You're trying to put them down. You're trying to do all these things. They see it as something negative and therefore they resist it. And so the thing about it is you're not going to heal that way. You have to be willing to hear what is not working and come up with a strategy and a plan on how to make things work. It's very simple, but once again, when these people have low ego strength, they're not going to be able to tolerate your observations. They're not going to be able to tolerate your wisdom. They're not going to be able to tolerate your truth. They're going to want you to keep on feeding them lies, feeding them delusions. They love the support of delusions. It keeps them safe. It maintains their poor behavior. And for a lot of people, let's be honest, their poor behavior is serving them, you know? There's a function to their poor behavior. There's a payoff. That's why they keep on engaging in that poor behavior. For some families, they continue to drink because the payoff is they're able to speak freely. They're able to vent their anger and release and just vent, you know? They love it. They love it. And so the thing is, you have to decide how you're going to keep yourself safe. You can't rely even on family these days to keep you safe. You have to decide how you can keep yourself emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, mentally safe. Because relatives these days, they're not going to do it. They just don't have the capacity. And learning that has been very freeing for me. Learning that there are some people in this world that just don't have the capacity to show up for you the way that you need them to. Sometimes you have high emotional intelligence. And for those who have high emotional intelligence, for those who are empaths, for those who are emotionally mature, Oftentimes, you will be tasked with the responsibility of educating other people and being their teacher. But what this means to you is that you are robbed of the support and the care that you need in trying to always instruct and be a teacher to the world and trying to heal the world. You yourself go without healing, and that's the part that you have to grieve. And you have to pour into yourself that healing. Because expecting other people to do it, they just don't have the capacity. They lack the self-awareness. They lack the awareness necessary in order to heal. They lack it. And sometimes they lack it just with you. See, they can support somebody else because they don't see that person as a threat. But with you, they don't have it to give because they perceive you as a threat. You want to look up something? Look up this. Tall poppy syndrome. Look it up. It's when people try to cut you down because they think you stand too tall. They want to break you down because they're like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And so they want to deliberately try to cut you down. And some families like that too. The term is called tall poppy syndrome. They will definitely try to undercut you at every time because they're threatened by you. See, for other family, they can offer the comfort. They have the capacity for them. But with you, there's something about you that triggers their feelings of inferiority, their feelings of insecurity. And so when that happens, run. Don't walk, run. Because you don't deserve that. You don't deserve to have someone not be able to show up for you because of their own insecurities. Insecure people are dangerous. Run now. Please run. Because honestly, they will do anything for a sense of completeness. Even sell you up the river. So my thing is this. If you are in a family right now that is currently struggling with toxicity, I encourage you to please pray. Pray for them. Pray for you. And begin to take the steps to nurture yourself. You can't raise your parents, especially as adult children who have emotionally immature parents. You can't raise your parents. It's impossible. Although sometimes it feels like you do, it's impossible. So, you have to take care of yourself. You have to gift yourself with the love that you wish they would gift you with. They don't have the capacity right now, and that's fine. It's a hurtful thing, but you gotta love on yourself, and you gotta love on yourself hard in this world. You gotta fight for yourself. You literally have to fight for yourself because ain't nobody else equipped to fight for you like you. And so I encourage everybody right now going through it with their families, please take care of yourself. Learn that you can love somebody from a distance sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have to love somebody from a distance. And also, love doesn't mean having a relationship with someone. Sometimes love is what you have inside of you, you know? It's what you have inside of you. Sometimes you have to love people in the privacy of your own heart and let that be enough. And you can love somebody, but that does not mean that they have to be in your life. People need to earn their place in your life. And that's what we're doing right now as adult children. We are trying to let people know, okay, how you've related to me in the past, that's not going to work anymore. Instilling those fears in your kids, using emotional blackmail and intimidation and guilt trips and gaslighting, that's not going to keep your kids. If anything, that's going to run them away. Why are so many older folks in these old folks' home and their kids don't come to see them? Sometimes the kids are bastards. Let's be honest. Sometimes the kids are bastards and selfish. But other times, it's because those parents treated those kids so bad when they were growing up, that those kids have nothing to give them. They have nothing left to give them. So in that situation, in the latter situation, parents need to remember that how you care about your kids now will determine the level of care that you get in your twilight years. Treat your kids good. Respect your kids. Honor them. Do not be irritating them, because it will determine the amount of care and the level of care that you get in your old age. Because I'm telling you, a lot of these families nowadays, and even in spiritual families can be even worse sometimes, because there's this tendency to weaponize scripture, weaponize sacred text, and use it as a tool of intimidation, humiliation, and control. And that's an abuse of the Bible and an abuse of the scriptures. But don't subscribe to that. Don't. Realize that that's just the tendency of toxic, narcissistic families. They like to keep people under their control. It keeps them feeling safe. But it doesn't make you feel safe. It keeps you feeling anxious, angry, upset, sad. That's not going to work for you. So, you have a conversation with your family. You let them know how you need to be loved. If they choose not to participate, you're going to have to make the decision whether or not you want to go no contact or continue to stay in the abusive environments. Everybody has to choose for themselves, but you got to take care of yourself. You have to. And so I hope this video was very helpful. I hope that it was informative. Please drop your comments below and let me know exactly what your experience is like growing up within toxic families and how you're navigating that now, and even how your family life is. I think that community will definitely help us all to be free. So thank you for listening, y'all. Peace.